Hey, I'm Kai, and today I'm checking out the Chopper Z by Joyo. Often touted as their best pedal to date, the Chopper Z is a high-gain preamp and distortion pedal. This pedal features some super simple controls. The main bulk of the drive tone is going to have a 3-band EQ, a volume, and a gain pot. This also sports a full noise gate, something akin to the Horizon Apex preamp, for example. This pedal has 2 foot switches. One is the main bypass for the pedal, and it also has a fat boost which thickens up the tone a little bit, as well as boosting it to get it more saturated. The only other knob to mention here is the output mode knob. This has 3 different modes depending on what you're running into. Preamp is going to be running into a clean amp, power amp is obviously running into a power amp, and then cab sim is if you're running direct into the desk. Now, prior to making this video, I have experimented with a ton of different setups for this Chopper Z to see what works best for me. I've tried it into the front end and the effects loop of both my 5153 and the DSL20 you see behind me. The tone you hear in this demo is going to be through the pedal baby into the 4x12, miking up the V30 MF speaker. The mic I'm using is of course an SM57. I will show you what this one sounds like completely dry just to get you an idea of what we're running into. Now to engage the Chopper Z. I'll start with all of the knobs at noon, and then I'll play with the EQ to find what works best for this setup. So for some reason when I started playing through this kind of volume, my light started changing colours and flickering, so we'll move on without that light. Anyway, so with the EQ dialed in, let's sweep through the range of gain we have available. I did find that there was a good range of gain and EQ available on this one. I think the gain sort of starts to kick in at high gain territory and then goes to completely blown out. I don't think it does the super low gain stuff too well. I think the EQ has the sweep that you need to get out of it. It's not super extreme by any means, but you can really fine tune it how you like it. With a high gain tone like this, we're getting quite a fair amount of noise, so it's a perfect time to try out the noise gate. Now I found this noise gate doesn't quite cut off as fast as I want it to, so listen out for that. Let's also try out the fat boost switch, which, full disclosure, I'm not a major fan of. This would work pretty nicely for sort of single note riffing, but it doesn't work too great for the high gain thing that I normally play. I actually have the Joyo Batsin set up, which is their sort of all-in-one drive pedal. I'm going to use this instead to try and boost the amp, so we'll turn the gain down, get something nice and crunchy, a little bit saturated, and then use the Batsin just to tighten it up that last sort of 2%. I really do prefer it with a tight boost like the Batsin up front instead of the fat boost that they have engaged in the pedal. Rather than switching amps around to show you what it sounds like into a clean amp, I'm just going to pretend that my pedal baby is the clean amp, so we'll switch over to the preamp mode and see what that sounds like. So starting on a low-ish gain tone, let's hear what this can do. This next clip is going to start in the power amp mode and then switch to the preamp mode after. Moving up into a higher gain thing now, let's see if we can get a tone that would be suitable to be boosted with the Batsin. Let's engage the fat boost while we're on the preamp setting and see what it does for that sort of single note riffing again. The last thing I want to do in this demo is try it out with a lower tuned guitar. So while this PRS is in drop C, I'm going to switch over to my Schecter KM7, which is down in drop A flat. So here it is. This guitar has the Seymour Duncan Nazgul Sentient pickup set. Let's also crank up the gain and get something sludgy going on with this guitar before I get into the conclusion. do need to mention that this video is sponsored, however, that won't impact my criticisms whatsoever. So let's start with those. I think rather than just preamp, power amp, and cab sim, it would have been nice to have a simulated power amp. That means you could run directly into an IR loader, for instance. Even more preferential to that, I'd say loading IRs onto this device would be absolutely clutch for this one. However, I understand that that's a lot of additional development cost. I also think having a dedicated amp out would have been nice for this, rather than having everything on a knob. This means that you could send one signal out to front of house and another one out to a power amp and cab for stage noise. This is a very common setup for live use, and if I were playing live, this is how I'd want my setup to be. That said, there are only so many features you can pack into a pedal that costs just £55. I do think this pedal does deserve the hype. I think if this pedal was like £100 or £150, we'd be having a very different conversation right now about the features that it has included. However, for £55 you really can't go wrong with this. Functionality should always be second to the tone, so I'd rather have a pedal like this that sounds great but is perhaps missing some features, rather than something that has all of the bells and whistles but nothing sounds good. I think I really like the gain range of this pedal. You're definitely not going to be able to get a whole range of gain out of it, however it does all of the different high gain ranges that you could want perfectly. I think if you were running this with another preamp pedal that simulates your clean to crunch, I think that could work really nicely. That is all for this video, so thank you ever so much for sticking around to the end. If you would like to purchase the Chopper Z for yourself, there will be an affiliate link in the description box down below for you to do so. Until next time though, I've been Kai.